What's up, everybody? How are you doing tonight? Welcome to From the Forum, a fantasy football advice network show. And I've got a sound in the background I gotta find real quick.
I wondered what you were doing. You froze there quickly. Just kind of stopped mid-sentence.
I know, right? It was throwing me off. I'm like, holy crap! I got an echo.
I thought my computer just froze.
Dude, threw me off too. I was like, what the heck is going on? Well, anyways, welcome to From the Forum with Fantasy Football Advice Network. So glad you guys are tuning in. I've got two awesome guys with me tonight, both coming from the north, which is known as Canada, I guess. But this is the Canadian show tonight with Jack and Aaron. So I'm going to give them a second. Jack, you start out, introduce yourself, let them know, where they can find your content, where they can find your stuff, a little bit about yourself. And then Aaron, you follow up.
Mot dit tabarnak si tu peux trouver toutes mes affaires. No, wait, I'm fucking with you. I'm not going to
I don't know what you just said.
No, I'm finally back in like a more firm way. I went off kilter for a week, got married there. So now I'm back putting out Monday Mayhem, Thursday Thriller, Sunday live shows coming out this week. I answer forum questions, steal a bunch of questions straight from the forum and like the group chat, which I never really answer in person. I do sometimes, but I steal all those questions for the Sunday live show. And Wildcard Wednesdays, we're fully back. So go check us out. Check us out, meeting me and my multiple personalities on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and Facebook. I think that's it.
All right, and Aaron?
Did he lead into that with some Mandarin? Is that what that was?
I don't know what that was.
It was French, I know that, but I said maybe he picked up some Mandarin from your kid.
Oh, yeah.
So, I am Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist. I'm a bit of a content whore. You can find me everywhere. The Mad Science Lab podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Pods, TikTok, blah, 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 wherever. You can find me anywhere on social media at FF Mad Scientist. And you can find my written work at King Fantasy Sports, The League Winners, Player Profiler, DLF, Fantasy Pros. I get around. I'm busy. That's about it. You still working on that echo, aren't you? I see you just focused.
Oh, no, I'm good. It's probably going to be there. Look, hey, Marcy, good evening. Thanks for tuning in. So glad you're here with us. Got Marcy in the house. Albert, what's up, Albert? Glad to have you. Look at that. Greg's tuning in. Aaron's getting a little love. Is Aaron related to the sun god? I don't know. Are you?
I have no idea what that means. I didn't understand if that was an insult or a compliment. I don't know what that meant.
Well, the only player in the NFL I know that they refer to as the sun god is
St. Brown. I got that. Is it
So, I mean,
because I got a Detroit shirt on? I don't know.
Maybe. But what's up, Greg? Thanks for tuning in. Love having you guys. And Greg, super appreciate you tuning in, man. It's always fun. We've got a great show for you tonight. Got somebody over on Facebook. Let me see who that is. It's really jank that Facebook doesn't allow usernames to pop up in these stream chats. I don't know if it's like part of their deal, but it's annoying.
Nice.
Let me see if I can see who's popping in. Anyways, what'd y'all think about Thursday Night Football while I'm figuring this out?
It sucked.
Yeah, I'm a Saints fan. It sucked.
Honestly, I was on the sell Chris Olave train and just the same. I mean, besides Kamara, because of just the complete dearth and Space Jam injury bench of running backs. Like you got to hold whatever running backs you can, and Kamara's getting a million targets. But like I was trying to sell the wide receivers actively. They were on my trade away list, and that basically last night was why.
Yeah. It was man, we talked about it. It seemed to be out of range, and then all of a sudden, like the fourth quarter, it came together, and we were like, "Oh my gosh, this is the first like Thursday night football game where we're gonna have like an actual game. Like, there's it. This might be exciting to actually watch to the end, you know." And it was. It was kind of back and forth. Derek Carr got mad at Chris Olave, drove down the field, scored, then scored, and then they came back, and then it's like, final seconds of the game, Carr in the red zone, and the Foster Moreau drop broke the hearts of the Saints fans.
I mean, that was just heartbreaking for him too. Like with all he's gone through, like you would have liked to see him make that catch, but it is what it is.
And we talked about that. He's like, how do you actually like it? Obviously, like that was a big catch, like if it's made. But like it's not like you can hate on Foster. Like you can't like the guy just like battled like back from cancer to play this year. Like you can't be like, oh, that guy sucks. You know what I mean? Like you gotta. It's just that weird place. But no, it was definitely a good game. I would have loved to get overtime. The Chris Olave throw at the end, like the last ditch. I mean, it didn't seem like he was open at all to make that catch, but is what it is. At least we had somewhat of an interesting Thursday night game.
Look, he's hurt. His toe. He looks like his toe's still bothering him.
Maybe. I know he's been giving up on a lot of routes, and Derek Carr's really upset about it.
I feel like it's a combination of both, though. And my whole concern was the volume being usurped from Kamara, and that's kind of poking its head too, where he's getting freaking 12 receptions a game.
Yeah, I mean, the targets are there for sure. So we'll go ahead and move on. We got more people joining in. Tingley, what's up? Hey, yo. Thanks for tuning in. That was not rehearsed. I just gave it a shot. It worked kind of, maybe a little bit. Anyway, so this is the show where we answer your questions live on the show. If you got any start-sit questions, if you got any trade questions, pop those things in the chat. We'll get to them as soon as possible. Obviously, if you super chat, we'll get to it immediately. And we're also going to dive into some of the questions from the Fantasy Football Advice Network. We are all members of fantasyfootballadvice.com. It is a place where you can go hang out, ask your questions, get advice, and just hang out with the fantasy football community. So go check that out. It's free to join, and awesome membership stuff in that too. So let's get over to the chat as we're already starting to get some questions in there. Lots of people updating us. They had Lawrence, Etienne, and Kamara. What a game. If you had Etienne and Kamara, that was like 55 points off 2 players. I know you love that. Christian Kirk has been the steal of the Jags offense, I feel like. Everybody was looking Ridley. You see him going in the third round of redraft, at worst case, 4th round, while Christian Kirk's going like 4 rounds behind that. And he has been the beneficiary outside of obviously Etienne, who's been a monster this year. I mean, Jack, what do you think about Christian Kirk's usage? Did you see it coming? Was it a surprise?
It's not surprising for 2 reasons. I had mentioned that Christian Kirk would be able to take advantage because people were worried after that first game. And in that first game, he was facing a lot of zone coverage, and he tends to do a lot better in man coverage. And they've played a lot more man coverage teams over the last little while, and he's taking advantage. And he's also starting to take advantage of the short-range PPR plays that is more his game versus like a Calvin Ridley type. And Ridley's, really disappeared since the first half of the first week.
Yeah, we talked about that last night. For me, and I don't know if you agree, Aaron, but it seems like Ridley has been like the almost player of the year. Like every game I feel like we're watching and like he almost has a touchdown in the back of the end zone or he almost has that big catch over on the sideline. Like he has all these huge, like just barely out of reach big plays.
Last night was like my coronation and my wonderful day. I've been on that train eating crap all season on my show. I was the Christian Kirk is the guy. Calvin Ridley's washed his all off season. I said, his role, his type of receiver doesn't age well, and it doesn't do well from 2 years off. And I just said he's going to be a bust. And I've been eating it, and it's finally I can begin my victory lap. Christian Kirk is the man. Calvin Ridley is not. Let the victory lapping start. I'm here. I've been waiting for this and Alexander Madison to officially sync, and then I'm just going to start a party. Day is here.
Love it. Love it. Well, speaking of trades, I'm going to pop over. We've got a question in the chat, and then I'm going to go over to the network for a question. Marcy said she's getting heartbroken by our boys in Texas. She's a Dallas fan. I think they'll get it together, Marcy. You're okay. You're not done yet. Albert coming in. Brandon Ayuk, Christian Watson, or Zay Flowers. Pick 2, full PPR. What do you think, Aaron?
Sit Watson. Easy.
Why is it easy?
Ayuk is far better, and with Debo and CMC, possibly out for the game, he's going to get tons of volume, and he's awesome. They got Minnesota, right? Minnesota's pass defense sucks. Zay Flowers looks like he's pushing Mark Andrews for targets. Who would have thought that the Ravens would have a bona fide wide receiver one, but they do. And Watson has a bad quarterback, doesn't have a defined wide receiver one role right now. It's more like Dobbs. He's the easy sit. This isn't even close.
I disagree. I don't think Love is bad, for one. And also, yeah, I disagree in the sense of it would be dependent on like what I'm looking for that spot and from my team. So like if I'm
assuming she wanted good players.
I think Flowers is the floor play. I think Watson presents more of a ceiling against Denver's terrible defense. I can see Watson having a bigger game than Zay Flowers this week. So if I'm
alone, or
if I'm already 2-4 and I'm trying to just score the most points, if I'm facing the 6-0 team, like Zay Flowers and his little floor PPR play isn't going to get me there. It's going to be Christian Watson popping off for 2 touchdowns on 2 long bombs against Denver's crap defense. Like that's more of the mantra that I'm looking at. I'm not saying that like on a season-long trajectory that Christian Watson is anywhere close to being better than Zay Flowers right now, but I just see Zay Flowers against Detroit having like such a lower ceiling than what potentially could happen with Christian Watson in Denver.
Yeah, I like Christian Watson for a long play, but I think Zay Flowers gets the target. So in full PPR, I think I'm going Flowers because you're not going to be touchdown dependent in that. I think Brandon Ayuk's the easy start.
Yeah.
But Christian Watson and Zay Flowers, I will say, is close because we saw when Christian Watson plays, they're going to target him. And he had, even like at the end of the last game, he at least had that big catch to kind of like resolve everything. I just feel better counting on a floor of like double-digit targets versus like hoping for the one long play. So I go with Aaron on this one with Zay. And that has not been my call all season. I've been like, if Mark Andrews is healthy, you don't play Zay. But Zay has worked and worked and worked, and I think Lamar's getting a little more comfortable with him, and so we're seeing a bit more there. I hope that helps you, Albert.
7 for 70.
Let's see. Sounds like we had a good night, Greg. Greg says Ayuk for sure, and he said he doesn't trust Watson, but he's a Lions fan, so he can't speak without having some kind of personal bias. Thanks, Greg, for the honesty there. Are you guys trading Kamara after 3 big games? Are you trading him?
Nope.
Depends what you can get for him, but probably no.
I mean, you could consider it in a dynasty league, sure, but in redraft, like honestly, in redraft, I am not trading for or away any fucking running backs anymore this year. It's been such a landmine situation It doesn't matter who you are this year. It's like every running back is, if you have them and they're healthy and they're playing, you just keep them. There's no, I feel like it's just like the craziest, most explosive position right now. And I'm just trying to like hold on to the guys I have. And unless you just have no running backs and you're really desperately looking for other running backs, and for some reason someone has a bunch of them, like I feel like those situations are fewer and further between, at least in all the leagues I'm playing in.
I thought the only option was if you're trading them for like a top 15 receiver. What are you going to take for running back? The only ones I take, nobody's going to give you McCaffrey, Eckler, Walker, ETN. You know, he's right now in PPR, he's RB 18 after being suspended for 3 games.
That's
How's
why
that even possible?
like running backs are so like unmovable right now. It's you want the world for them, but you can't get anything for them.
Yeah, I mean, if I have a top tier running back, I'm not letting them go. Like it's gonna take, you're gonna have to pry him out because I think that's a position of weakness. And if you get that guaranteed, like those are, so you have 2 running backs you have to play weekly. So if you have guaranteed massive production from one, like you don't want to get rid of that, you know. And I mean, it would have to be an absolute haul because the amount of targets Kamara is getting is absolutely ridiculous. Like, I mean, it is crazy how many targets he's getting.
I wish I could give the credit to where I saw it, but it's not even a check down. It's straight up like he's skipping all his reads, and it's like,
yeah, just Kamara.
Way the fuck downfield. Nah, Kamara. Boom.
Yeah, no, it's one read and then Kamara. That's all it is. That's why you think Michael Thomas would have a better role. This is like prime slant territory, but it's one check, one read straight to Kamara. One read. Maybe that's why Olave's pissed off. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? All right, keep moving. We got Bazambo in the chat. Full PPR. Should I start Deonta Foreman or Jalen Warren? I will say injury update. It looks like Roshan's been declared out. Did not get through concussion protocol this week. So, Aaron, Foreman or Warren?
Foreman. Roshan's out. Foreman's the guy. Who got more work than I would have expected? Darrington Evans. Jalen Warren and Najee are kind of a split still. Like they're coming out of a bye. Maybe he'll take over more, but I know everyone says Jalen Warren's been better than Najee, more efficient, but that's not saying much because I don't think Jalen Warren's been all that efficient himself. So Deonta Foreman for me, but this one's kind of ugly.
It's kind of ugly. It's like, you know, I would almost rather go to waivers and like find like a Josh Palmer against Kansas City and start them in a flex over like one of these guys. You know, it's
this sums up week 7.
Say what?
This sums up week 7.
I know
100% on this one, and it's fucking blame Canada because like Najee should be a slam dunk, but he's not. Jalen Warren should be a complimentary flex. He's not. Like, you can't do nothing when you're starting fucking 5 to 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage every goddamn play.
I was going to ask if we're allowed to swear because I let one slip, but I guess Jack answered that question.
Look, Jack, what you need to know whenever you have Jack on the show is Jack just comes as Jack. It's going to be that. It's probably going to have some swearing. It might have some wrestling promos, but it's going to be a good time.
I try to tone it down when it's not my show. I don't want to get anyone canceled. So,
well, if you're in a chat, if you're in the stream, and you know, hopefully you can move past the language. But yeah, we're gonna have a good time tonight. And thank you guys for tuning in. Please hit that like and subscribe button as we roll through these questions.
I can usually keep the language like pretty wrapped up. And when it comes to talking about Matt Hand and the Steelers this year, I can't help myself. Like it comes out immediately. That's where the passion comes from.
Yeah, I feel like the terrible towel wasn't behind the TV at the beginning of the season.
No,
now it's kind of
the camera just kind of like moved around, but honestly, it deserves to be behind the TV with how bad this offense is. The fact that we're 3-2 also is just patently ridiculous.
Thank TJ Watt.
0-5, honestly, like it makes me upset.
Yeah, thank TJ Watt. He's getting you a defensive touchdown, you know, each week, whether it be started or finishing it.
I'm saying,
He's their best offensive player.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to go talk to the defense, tell them to take a couple games off so we can get rid of Matt Canada, because the fact that we have a winning record is letting Tomlin justify keeping this man around.
Yeah. All right, we're going to pop over to the network again. If you don't know, we are all part of fantasyfootballadvice.com. It is free to join. It's a great place to ask your questions, just like you're asking in the chat. We're going to get to all the questions tonight, but we want to pop over to the network. We got one on there. It is a dynasty trade question. Rebuilding team, need youth across the board. Do you send Zay Jones and a 2024 second round pick for Jerome Ford and a 24 fourth, or would you rather get the Zay and second round pick?
Oh, that's ugly.
I mean, I don't see the point if you're rebuilding is the problem. Like, if you were still competing, I like this move. If this is me in our dynasty league where I just like sold off half my 2025 draft to acquire like a bunch of depth receivers, that kind of move, I get it. But this is the reverse of that. You're basically saying you're rebuilding, you're in the shitter already. So I'm assuming you're like 1-5 or 0-6 or something. I'm not trying to sell off my second round pick for Jerome Ford, who I have no idea what his role is going to be next year.
I don't think he's that good this year, let alone next year. I think he's Alexander Madison, Mike Davis 2.0. He's a volume running back at this point. I think I'd just keep the second round pick. It's probably the most valuable thing to you as a rebuilding team.
That's the thing. Like, for this year, specifically for redraft, I'm fine with Jerome Ford. Kareem Hunt's already banged up. Like, he's kind of coming back from a thing. So it's like I would understand it even, like, again, if you're number one in the league as the dynasty team, you're like, I want to make sure I got a depth running back that I feel like I can throw in my flex and stuff. I would understand that move. You're expecting that 205 to be late, but this is the reverse of that. You suck. You're trying to rebuild. You're going to sell off one of your better picks potentially for a guy who you have no idea what he's going to do next year. That is and Zay Jones, honestly, like, you could probably trade Zay Jones for just like that fourth or even a third rounder potentially to whatever is like the team in first place. That's what you should be doing.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep Zay. I'm trying to keep the second round. I am notorious for getting a good running back in the second round. So like I like having that pick. That's a pick that I want, over like a Jerome Ford. But I could see, like, if you're trying to win now, maybe Ford carries value for you. But I personally would rather have the Flowers in the second.
But that's what I'm saying, though. Like, that second round pick for this year, for me, that was like a bunch of shares of A-Chain, some shares of Kendre Miller. Like, I got some good running backs that are far more valuable than Jerome Ford would be. So what makes you think you can't do the same thing next year? Find a second round running back that would be way more valuable than Jerome Ford.
Or a wide receiver even. I mean, it's just some people don't like to draft, and I think that's kind of what, it just kind of feels like how you play. Some don't like to draft. Maybe they don't watch a lot of college ball. Maybe they don't feel happy, excited about the talent.
That doesn't make any sense to me, though, because I watch zero college ball. I can tell you, like, the amount of college games I've watched in my entire life fit on one hand, and it's less than 5. Like, and I'm still I take shots on guys because, like, it's not that hard in this age to, like, just go look up some dudes. So no, there is no conceivable way you should be making this trade as a rebuilding team. You specified that you were rebuilding. With that context, this would just be a dumb trade.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we're gonna go through. We're gonna keep moving. Got a ton of questions in the chat. Matt Rich popping in. 12-team dynasty, 4-2, playing for contention. It's a 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 4 flex roster setup. He's got Brees Kamara. Hopefully he started Kamara this week. Amon-Ra, Olave, JSN, Palmer, Godwin, Judy. Would you trade Judy and a 24 second plus a third for Keenan Allen?
So he's getting Keenan Allen?
Yeah. Getting Keenan Allen, dishing Judy a second and a third.
Smash it if you're contending.
Yeah.
I
Man,
would agree if you're
going the agreement podcast.
if you're going for a ship, if you're going for the ship, I want Keenan Allen because gosh, they're peppering Keenan Allen with targets.
Honestly, even if you weren't going for a ship, like I think obviously anyone would want in Dynasty right now Keenan Allen over Jerry Jeudy. I feel like he's the better asset. And a second and a third, I think draft picks are like the most useless asset in a sense of like when I look at the second and the third, I'm like, okay, these are rookie picks, and if I win, they're late rookie picks, which at best are complete pot shots on random dudes that you hope turn into something.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I'm a little bit on the other side. I like draft picks, Jack. I tend to like it's very rare that I'll miss on a pick. It does happen, but it is rare. So I mean, I like those picks because I'm trying to draft a future Keenan Allen. However, if I'm contending, Keenan Allen creates some massive separation. Now, I'm not excited to have Allen and Palmer on my team. I would probably, I would probably love to like fit Palmer in that somehow.
Take the second rounder back.
Yeah, and that way I'm not rostering both those guys. But it's not a bad thought. Let me ask you this, guys, just real quick. We got a ton of stuff to get through, but just real quick, what's your real take on Jerry Jeudy as a NFL star? Obviously, Steve Smith had a lot to say live on television, but what's your take? You start us off, Aaron. What do you think about Jerry Jeudy? Is it a hold, keep? Or are we seeing what Jerry Judy's going to be?
Depends on the cost for me. I don't mind buying him low. I'm assuming he's getting traded. Russell Wilson is terrible. Like, he's been really bad. I don't think Judy's this bad. Maybe there's some character issues or effort issues it's looking like. Maybe he's just not getting along with the coaching staff, but I don't mind buying him. I'm obviously not paying, what the price was. So a lot of leagues, like I've seen him dropped in leagues, not dynasty, but I've seen him dropped in redraft. I don't mind stashing him or like picking him up in redraft just in case. What's the trade deadline? Halloween?
I think it's right there, like the 30th.
Yeah, no, he's a stasher or buy low for me. I don't think he's this bad. I think he's probably better than Cortland Sutton. I think he's a wide receiver too in the end if he gets the right landing spot or finds a way to repair things in Denver. I mean, look how bad the Jonathan Taylor situation looked, and a month later everything's rosy. So money has a way of fixing these situations. So he could turn things around in a quick hurry. I'm not writing him off. I think he's good.
What do you think, Jack? I got Anthony in the chat. He says Jeudy is a lackluster wide receiver. Don't know what's worse, injuries or inconsistencies.
The spelling of inconsistencies there.
We were talking about swearing on the show, so maybe that was intentional.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe that looks amazing though. I'm completely thrown off now. But no, I had. You know what it is, and you mentioned like the real life aspect, and I think, and I've mentioned this before with fantasy football. It's so easy, I think, sometimes to forget that like these are human beings, and they're in human situations. And I don't know if you guys have ever like started at a job that you thought was going to be really good, and you like started out crushing it, and you were just like doing all right, and then you got sick and you missed a couple weeks, and you came back and the management turned out to not be as great as you thought, and some of the coworkers were kind of shitty, and the main coworker, everyone's supposed to, the main supervisor is kind of a dick. He's not really that great. Turns out he just kind of goes through the motions, and he's always saying stupid shit like "Let's ride." So
he's such a weirdo.
It's just one of those things where like you kind of, as a human being, struggle to find motivation, even in a situation as high octane as the NFL, where you're making millions of dollars. Like, you're gonna struggle to find the actual internal motivation to be the best that you can be, which is very cliche. But yeah, when you're going into work and dealing with a Muppet like Wilson and a coaching staff like Sean Payton and constant changing and turnover and whatever's going on with ownership, like at a certain point, that plays on your own personality and the way that you come to work every day. And sometimes dudes just need a change of scenery. And honestly, like the fact that he's even in the NFL, and I say this all the time, every single NFL player is extremely talented. They made the NFL for a reason. They are in the top 1% of football players in the world, or they wouldn't be in the fucking NFL to begin with. Like the CFL exists, the XFL exists. There are other leagues that do exist, and a lot of those dudes have not even anywhere close to the talent to make it in the NFL. That's like a fact of life. So, yeah, Jerry Jeudy is immensely talented. Aaron hit it. He could be an excellent wide receiver too, but it probably won't happen with the Denver Broncos unless there's like a change in quarterback who suddenly comes in. Everyone buys into the Sean Payton way. Jerry Jeudy stays through all that and manages to turn his career around. It happens. It's rare, but we've seen like the Devontae Parker 5-year turnaround of wide receiver where he wasn't that great first 4 years of his career, and then he hit in the 5th year. So it happens. Every NFL player goes through ebbs and flows, and sometimes those ebbs, they suck a lot more than the flows.
Yeah, I will say I think Jeudy is not not talented. He's a talented wide receiver. Greg said it in the chat, and I've been throwing some chats up along the way. Jeudy in a second and a third is tough in a dynasty league to give away for a 31-year-old receiver. But, if you're in a win now moment, and, Jack, I think you probably do it better than a lot. And I've seen it in a couple leagues that we play in, like you got to realize you're going to be able to get that talent later too. But I mean, to have somebody that's currently what is Keenan Allen, wide receiver 4 on the year, 14 points, 32 points, 49 points, 21 points. Like, I mean, it's not like that's somebody that can win you a championship. And so, I don't think Jeudy this year is winning you championships. Obviously, your second and third round pick this year are not winning you championships. So it just depends on really how much of, how much you think that it's going to make or break the championship reign. We're going to keep rolling. We've got a ton of questions in here. Guys, I'm going to continue to try to get through all these. Just hang in there with us as we kind of roll through the chat. We're trying to get to them as they do. And again, if we get a super chat, we'll get to that immediately. But just trying to kind of make it through everything and everybody get their question answered. So next one from Lucius. Would you start Gabe Davis or Rashee Rice this week? Have Debo, but don't think he's going to play.
Casey has the Chargers. Gabe Davis gets the Patriots.
Yeah, I'm going with it's the same thing I said earlier. It depends on my situation. So if let's put it in the context of I'm the 2-4 team facing the 6-0 team. If I'm the 6-0 team and I've got a killer team and I'm just looking to fill a flex spot and with a floor play, like the option is just Rice to me. But if I'm on the other side of that, if I'm the 2-4 guy, I have to go with Gabe Davis because it's like if he gets 0-5, the potential to get 20 is there.
Yeah, it's a tough one for me, but I mean, I think it's just the Rashee Rice. I think everybody's getting a little bit more excited about that connection between him and Mahomes. I mean, I can pop over to the network too and show you. I mean, we've got the next question on there was literally flex option: Addison versus San Francisco or Rashee Rice versus the Chargers. It's everybody, I think, is starting to get on the Rashee Rice train. Gabe Davis came off of 4 games straight with a touchdown, and then last game kind of laid a dud. But I mean, is Rashee Rice that much upside, Aaron, that you're starting him over Gabe Davis?
I'm high on Rashi Rice. It's the sixth best matchup for fantasy wide receivers. I just don't know if I'm this high on him yet. And I'm normally the low guy on Diggs. It's the 19th best matchup for Bills receivers. The only thing I think I've had this question before on my show. The only thing that swayed me towards Gabe Davis is what is one thing the Patriots are notorious for?
Shutting down the main
Wide
guy.
receiver one, which means it's a not Steph Diggs week. It could be a Gabe Davis week. And that combined with the, I'm not quite sure if Rashi Rice is the guaranteed target earner yet, says I'd probably take Gabe Davis and hope maybe he breaks one off here, a long bomb. I think Gabe Davis is the ceiling play here.
Yeah, Rasheed Rice. I like Rasheed as they start to to put the coverage on Kelsey and they bring the safety over. I've noticed that they've been having Rasheed run up the mid, like play that middle zone for catches opposite of Kelsey, almost like another tight end. They've been kind of feeding him in that gap, and that's where he's getting most of his catches. But let me ask. So you say Gabe Davis over Rasheed Rice, Jack? You playing Addison or Rasheed Rice this week?
It's the same reasoning, so I'm still going with Addison there, and it's because again, this is like very much a make or break week. Like I've got 20 teams. I've got teams that are 7-1, or I'm thinking of like with the league median stuff. Like I've got teams that are close, like 5-1 or 6-0. Those teams where it's full PPR, and I'm like, I've got crazy receivers already. I got a crazy team. I just want to stay floor play. That's kind of where I might be looking at Rasheed Rice. But if I'm on the opposite side of it, and again, if I'm looking, especially if I've got like bye weeks and stuff I'm dealing with, injuries, and I'm just trying to like hit all ceilings, like that's where I want my whole lineup to be Addison, Christian Watson, Gabe Davis. Like, give me all those guys because I'm either gonna go out swinging, or I'm going to blow it up and I'm going to get an upset and I'm going to move to 3 and 4 and maybe save my season.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of people are on that same page. Let me ask you one more question when it comes to that. If, and I repeat, if Debo is healthy, because remember, that's why he's considering this. If Debo is healthy, do you play Debo over Gabe and Rasheed, or do you still play Gabe?
Debo. Great matchup.
I would play Debo over Rasheed. I don't know about Gabe still, just because Debo, I've seen it before where he comes back from the injury and it's like 50-50 on is he playing or is he a decoy?
Okay, do we know? Okay, in this hypothetical, Debo's in. Is McCaffrey also in? Because if McCaffrey's out, Debo's also going to get some rushes designated to him, and that increases his floor and his upside. I go Debo in that situation.
Yeah, no, I think you go Debo either way, but I definitely if McCaffrey's out, man, if CMC is out, you're definitely playing Debo, I think.
My only thing is again the decoy Debo potential. But if you told me like 70-30 chance that he's playing and getting touches and like active, then I'm playing him over both.
If McCaffrey's out there, I don't know if they can afford to just use him as a decoy. They're going to need someone out on the field who can do something, and Kittle hasn't looked great. So, I don't know. I think I take Debo anyways.
Yeah.
Tingley had some great trade things last night. Just wanted to give him a shout out. Greg talking about Pacheco. Let's see. Trying to get down to the
I saw it fell through, though, is what it was saying at the beginning.
Yeah, it did fall through. I just didn't have the trade so we could kind of recombat through it. But Tingley, we are interested in what you're trying to do.
Like veto, because I've been seeing the veto monster pop up lately.
Yeah, no veto. It was just I think they didn't accept the trade. Okay. We on this show, by the way, are against the veto.
Yes, very much.
We're against the veto. If some people like Jack, for example, is one, will make a trade that makes no sense, but it will somehow push his team to a top performing team. So like people do that, and though you may not agree, though you may not like it, I just think the veto brings in too much bias. So try to stay away from veto leagues. If it comes up in your league, try not to be the person vetoing, because like I said, I think most of the time that's driven by personal bias, and you don't want whoever you're playing to get the players that they're going to be getting in that trade.
Yeah, here, let me bring it up because it was in one of the like Facebook chats, and I thought it was ridiculous that this even came close to being a veto. So single, for context too, the person gave full context. Single quarterback, PPR, 4-point passing, no bonuses, and the other dude was absolutely hurting for running backs. They traded, what was it? Rashad White and Dak Prescott for Mahomes. And people freaked out in that league and were like, veto, it cannot pass. I was like, that's bullshit. For me, like, that would be enough to be like, maybe not. I'm not the type to be so reactionary usually where I'm going to quit in the middle of the year and dump my players and like be one of those guys. But I will keep it, like, that's going to get ingrained in my head of like, okay, I'm leaving this league as soon as the year is up.
If a trade is bad enough to veto, it's bad enough to have someone kicked out for collusion or incompetence. Otherwise, leave the fucking trade. No, seriously, like if I have to veto, it's because you're either cheating or you're too stupid to play in the league. So in either scenario, you shouldn't have to veto ever. And if you do, in the rare situation, someone needs to be kicked out.
That does lead me to a question, Aaron, because I feel like you're a little more on the ruthless side like me. And in my big money league, a rule that I instituted, if you're in last, you're out. Like you're done. You get a year off, take a break, go learn some shit.
What is this, relegation?
Yeah. Serious. We get 1 year banishment. And it started because I had to like politely excuse a few people from this particular league because I was like, this is supposed to be my experts league, and you are quite simply just not good enough of a player, or you just like, sometimes it was skill, sometimes it was just like the way that like if their team would start losing, they'd throw a fit kind of thing, like different reasons. But I was like, yeah, I can't have this. So I politely relegated them to lesser leagues.
That's a tough one, but like okay, so like I'm in 71 or 73 leagues. But anyways, so my cousin needed someone for his work league. So I was like, okay, sure, whatever. I did the draft or whatever. I think I'm 1-5 right now, and I'm easily last place. But like my first 3 picks were Cup, Chubb, Taylor. I've got a bunch of misses in the middle. I've got a bunch of injuries. So I'm going to easily finish last place, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't mean I should be relegated because I'm terrible. Every once in a while, you just get one of those seasons where, like I said, I got 73 leagues. One of them was bound to go all chaotic.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah, I've got 20 and I feel like I'm struggling. So you with your 73.
Yeah, that number is just overwhelming. If you're watching this show, we do not recommend 73 leagues.
You should see me have to do waiver wire day.
It's got to take you like at least like three
No,
hours.
I bring up my waiver wire column and I have the highlighted list of players I want to check on each one. So the hardest part I found is I go through my list when I do my waiver claim every Tuesday night. The problem is the ones that I don't expect, where you just be like, the leagues I care about most, you'll flip through and you'll scroll through on your phone. There's leagues where I'm like, oh, that guy was available on waivers. I never would have thought that. And I'm like, shit, I missed him. But it happens. You can't be there for all of them.
Well, let's keep moving. Good evening. RS German says, Waller or Jacoby Myers, tight end premium. Who you playing this week?
Jacoby Myers? I don't have a good rationale for it. I just find Waller to be more inconsistent. And I don't know. Jacoby Myers has been surprisingly good. Who do the Giants have? The Commanders, who are prone to deep threat, but that's not Waller. I think it's Jacoby Myers.
The Raiders got the Bears, so
that helps.
I will say though, if you watch, I don't know if you watched the game this past week, when Garoppolo went out, Myers' targets went down, And like, so I don't know. One, we don't know. The coaching staff won't tell us even to this day who's going to be starting, whether
Yeah.
it'll be Hoyer or it'll be Aiden O'Connell this week for the Raiders. But either way, I still don't know. I'm 100%
Target
on
Adams.
Myers. Like in a tight end premium, I feel like you almost have to go Waller. You know, I did like Waller more with Tyrod Taylor throwing him the ball. We're supposed to get Danny Dimes back, but
like I said, I don't have a strong feeling about it either way. I'm cool with it. Personally, I think I just like Myers. Myers seems safer. I guess if you can afford to risk it, Waller might be the play. I feel like there's a much higher risk of Waller busting, but if it's Hoyer again, he might just hyper target Devontae Adams, and Myers might be a non-factor.
Or Mayer. We saw Mayer get a huge uptick of targets once there was a quarterback change.
I got videos coming out on him tomorrow. He's my I'm all over that. I love it. He was my fighting one in this class coming in though, so this is just going to be me trying to do some confirmation bias here. So,
well, if you go Mayer though, can you go Myers too? And I mean, like, are we?
No, I don't think Mayer breaks out yet. I think he's on his way there. I think Myers is still ahead of him. He's just getting there.
Jack, what do you think? Which one are you taking? Quick answer.
I'm with them. I'm going with Myers. It's the matchup. The Bears, they look terrible.
They do look terrible. All right, Greg coming in. Greg throwing us a question: Jalen Hurts or Tua this week? Which way you going, Jack?
They play each other, don't they?
Yeah. If it's 6-point passing, I think I'm going with Tua, but if it's standard, then I'm going to go with Hurts and the tush push.
I'm just going Hurts regardless. I don't think I can ever sit Hurts for someone not named Patrick Mahomes. And even then, the way he's playing this year, I think it's just Jalen Hurts.
So the thing is though, Philly's defense right now, the corners are just like ravaged, and I just think Tyreek and Jalen Waddle are going to eviscerate them. And so Tua, to me, is like, especially with the fact that you got Jalen on the other side. I mean, there is no wrong answer here. This is like a good problem to have. But if you're telling me like who do I think is going to slightly outscore the other one, I feel like it's Tua because I see a lot of Tyreek and a lot of Waddle in this game.
A few years ago, like I found I was the over-tinkerer. And so I came up with a rule where I wasn't over-analyzing, and my first question was, who's the more talented player? This one for me is Hurts, so I only use the other stuff, the matchups and all that as a tiebreaker. Here, I don't need the tiebreaker. Just give me the better player.
Here's a hot take. Tua is a better quarterback if you were to take away Hurts' legs. So if not for his athleticism, Tua is a better passer.
Yeah, but that hypothetical is not what we're being faced with.
Like, no, I know. I'm just saying. You said he's a better quarterback. I don't know. He's a better quarterback. He's a better athlete. He's going to get 10 carries for 35 yards and 2 touchdowns, but Tua is going to go all over the yard on him.
Guys, we're doing a really bad job of answering these questions. Hopefully the content of the debate that is Canadian against Canadian over here, it gives you enough information for you to make a logical decision.
I mean, we're finally having a debate. We've been agreeing this whole time. That's part of the problem when you get 2 Canadians in a room.
As a tiebreaker, I flip a coin and
nice.
I'm gonna go Hurts, mostly because I think Philly's getting back their full secondary, and not that Darius Slay is going to be able to cover Tyreek Hill, but I think maybe it at least slows Tua down a little bit. But I think either quarterback is probably going to have a decent game. Like, I don't think that you're going to have one that's like 30 and one that's going to be 15. It'll probably be like 27 and 30 or 24 and 28. I don't think you're going to see a drastic separation. Back to that question earlier with Myers and Waller. He clarified that it was a 1.75 tight end premium. So it is 1.75 per reception, not 1.5.
And a 0.75 for first down. And Waller is like, that's what they're looking at him for. So,
Okay,
yeah, I would go Waller there.
Waller. Yeah, Waller.
Waller. All right. Anthony said Addison, Debo, Gabe, Rice, Judy. Oh, I guess that was maybe his order for that question earlier. Greg said collusion, kick both owners out. Stupidity, no. You can legislate stupidity.
I can.
Anthony, best flex play: Rashad White, DK, Josh Palmer, Christian Watson, Scary Terry. Pick one.
Scary Terry against the Giants. Sam Howell, too. I thought he was going to be, honestly, I thought he would be done after that 4-interception game. I was like, I was sure they were going to bring out Jacoby Brissett. But no, they stuck with him and he's responded well. I'm rolling with Scary Terry because Metcalf is still, I think, coming off the injury. We'll see like how truly available he is, and Arizona's defense has kind of surprised us a couple times. So I'm rolling with Scary Terry.
What about you?
DK. It's the 5th best matchup for receiver. The Cardinals allow 32.5 points per game to receiver. My next choice would have been McLaurin. I can't really fault you if that's what you want to do, but I prefer Metcalf. I don't know. I know Geno hasn't been great. I love Sam Howell, but he's so risky sometimes. He's either going to put up 30 or 3. There's no in between. So I feel like I want DK here.
Kind of like Kirk Cousins. There's no in between. No, I like DK. I will say watch DK. DK is still not practicing fully. He's questionable. So if something happens or if you think his snap share is going to be limited, go Scary Terry. But if he's a full go, I probably go Metcalf. I don't know that Washington's going to have to air it out to stay in that game, which is one of the things that kind of makes me, wonder a little bit. All right, Lamar Jackson or Jordan Love. This is easy for me, even though the matchup's good for Love. I go Jackson. Pacheco or Flowers at flex.
Pacheco.
Yeah. Pacheco.
If it's full people,
Chargers' run defense is terrible.
Even with the PPR, I don't care. I'm going with Pacheco.
Chargers' run defense is brutal.
Yeah.
It's Pacheco. And Flowers plays the Lions. Like I love Flowers, but the Lions defense is legit. I know I've given Flowers as an answer before, but not over Pacheco.
So Greg said he disagreed. He said he went to because of respective defenses. Even though I feel like Eagles have a better defense than Miami, but he said the debate is what makes a great show. Greg, the great questions do make a great show. So thanks for being here and putting those out there.
What was that comment? Did I misunderstand that? Did he say he took Tua because the respective defenses? Aren't the Eagles the better defense?
Yeah, that's what I just said. I thought the Eagles were the better defense.
Okay, no, I read it and I was like, that I don't understand the logic. If you wanted to go based on the defenses, wouldn't you go Hurts? That's how I see it, but maybe I'm missing something. I don't know. Anyways, I still go Hurts.
Hurts it is. All right, we got a big doozy of a trade over on the network. So if you guys want to pop in the chat that are still watching, again, like and subscribe to the channel. Go to fantasyfootballadvice.com and set up your account. It is free to join. Lots of awesome pro membership opportunities. But we're going to go to a killer trade that was put up on the network. And I'm kind of excited to dive into this one, kind of getting close to the end of our show here. So I'm going to pop this up. Who wins this trade? Travis Etienne, Tony Pollard, and Zay Flowers. That's Team A. Or Team B, Devonta Smith, Bijan, Waddle, and Watson.
We know if this is Dynasty? Redraft? Do we know?
Let's go. All players are fairly young, so let's just go redraft.
If it's redraft, then I can't do it right now, as much as I want to. Arthur Smith is basically telling me that I can't. This was like a whole thing that I had. One of my first videos ever was, would Bijan Robinson be a bust? And my whole argument was just that based on his ADP and the hype around him, all he had to do was not have like a monster Eric Dickerson rookie season, which would be a complete outlier, and he would probably be a bust. And right now, like, he's been fantastic for real life football. He's even been okay for fantasy football. He definitely hasn't been like what people I think are expecting, hoping, wanting, praying for. Arthur Smith just hates us and also seems to hate winning. So I don't know what to do. But the problem is Travis Etienne. Like, I have Pollard, and I even had the Jaguars receivers, technically speaking, on my trade away list, just because of, and this was dependent on, like, if you're 2-4 and you're looking at the next 4 weeks of the schedule, the bye week coming up, everything, you got to kind of start making some pivots. So I had Christian Watson on that list, but like Devonta Smith is banged up with Arthur Smith just refusing to use Bijan properly. I love Jalen Waddle and Christian Watson, but I feel like I still have to stick with the ETN, Pollard, Zay Flowers side in a redraft format. In Dynasty, I would take Bijan.
Yeah, I think this is a good trade. To me, it comes down to roster makeup. So, like, if I have running backs to spare, then I like getting Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle, and Christian Watson. However, we have talked about how this year, especially running backs, are hard to come by, especially with like massive workloads. So I don't know if I don't have the replacement running backs that I give an ETN and Pollard up. Despite the fact, so let me ask you this: Pollard, it was rumors that Derrick Henry might get traded to Dallas. Probably not going to happen. Probably just another one of those like hot takes, to pump up somebody's clicks. But I do think Pollard struggles in the Mike McCarthy system. That up the middle running, we're not seeing the kind of effectiveness. In fact, the biggest play he had was the actually like the reception that he had on the dump off pass in that last game. But for the most part, Pollard has been underwhelming to what we expected. So,
what you expected. Because if you remember, Pollard was very firmly entrenched on my bust list. And like Aaron had to eat it with Calvin Ridley early on, I had to eat it with Tony Pollard early on. But now we are seeing the product of my worries, which was Mike McCarthy insisting on running Tony Pollard right up the center's ass 20 times a game, even though Tony Pollard is much more highly effective in outside zone run scheme.
Yeah, it is. It's tough watching them misuse Pollard. Like every week I watch it, I'm like, it just like, it's agonizing. It's agonizing.
Trust me, as a Steelers fan, I understand very well how agonizing it is to watch your team misuse your star running back. I mean, it's almost as bad, except that it's ironic in that Najee Harris would actually fit better in this Dallas run game, whereas Tony Pollard would fit better in what the Steelers are trying to do.
So, real quick, if you have to pick one, I think that this is a good enough trade. It depends on the context of the team. This is not a vetoable trade. This is a good trade. I would like to really see the rosters to make an educated decision, but off the cuff, not seeing the rosters. Real quick, Jack, A or B?
I'm changing my mind. I'm going with B. And you know what it is? More than anything that's overriding my decision here is just I've been pivoting away in almost all of my leagues away from running backs, even in the main dynasty that we're in together. the trade I made was for all wide receivers to get depth. Like I'm all in on just load up on 1,000 wide receivers, and I'll figure out what two Jaboke running backs I got to put in those two slots every week. But otherwise, like, give me all wide receivers. So I think I'm going with Team B here.
Aaron,
and hopefully
what about you?
Ron, picks it up.
Team B. I think Pollard and Bijan and redraft are a push for me. And then it comes down to I'd rather have Devontae, Waddle, and Watson over ETN and Flowers. Even though I think I'm highest on ETN out of all the players in here, I'd rather be.
Yeah, that's definitely, it's a good trade. Thanks, Joe and Tyler, for putting that one out there. Definitely a thinker. Greg said, thank you for recognizing Lion Rock. He said, Dolphins and Eagles allowing 21.5 and 21.2 points per game to quarterbacks respectively. So
they're 6 and 8 against quarterback. It's a negligible difference. Like in the scoring I used for my chart, it's 18.7 to 18.6. So like they're almost back to back in the rankings. I don't think it's a big enough difference to sway me away from who I think is the better quarterback.
All right, so I'm going to extend just because Anthony popped in the chat and he said an hour. Let's see here. Hold on. An hour is never long enough. So we're going to give 5 more minutes to pepper through a few last-minute questions. Appreciate you, Anthony, for tuning in. Go over to the network. This was a big trade. Mike Mago, Aaron Jones, and Justin Jefferson for Christian Watson and Joe Mixon. To me, this is easy. What do you guys think?
So I actually have more context for this because he had mentioned that he was 2-4. So you can't take the trade because you're 2-4. As much as I would love to acquire Jefferson right now, Aaron Jones is still working back from injury. I feel like at 2-4, you are essentially guaranteeing your way out of the playoffs and having Jefferson for nothing. And also, you can't keep Jefferson. It's like a keeper league where he won't be able to keep Justin Jefferson either. So it's a pointless trade. You're giving away Watson and Mixon, giving up 2 players for Aaron Jones, who maybe starts to be better after being injured. Maybe he doesn't. The schedule does lighten up for the Packers, but it's like you're giving away Christian Watson. So what's the point? And again, you don't get to keep Justin Jefferson. If you eat 2 L's and you're now 2-6, like you're probably not making the playoffs. So again, it's like you need to be. As much as I would love to acquire Jefferson, it doesn't make any sense.
I don't think it makes any sense to make the trade. I don't really like either side. I think I'd rather just hold and not make the deal.
Not make the deal.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So we're going to throw one more question up from the network, and then we're going to hit these last couple questions on the chat, and then we're going to roll out for the night. So this one right here, which side are you picking, Madison and Lockett or Ramondre and Elijah Moore?
Lockett. Honestly, just give me Lockett. Like, as much as Madison's been terrible, I just want Lockett. Basically, I'm just looking at who's the best player in the trade. Ramondre is splitting with Zeke. Elijah Moore is useless. Give me Lockett.
Agreed. The running backs are a wash for me either way. I think I like Stevenson more, but I like Lockett significantly more than Moore. So yeah, Lockett.
No, I'm with you there for sure. All right, so Anthony needs to know, I guess he probably needs to pick somebody up. Who is the best waiver wire tight end to grab? And Aaron, I feel like I already know your answer. But if they're out there, who's the best person to grab waiver wire to play tight end for you this week?
To play for this week or for rest of season? You want this week?
Let's go this week and then rest of season, if you can do it quickly.
Rest of season, I like Mayer. I don't necessarily. I don't know if I want him this week. Actually, you know who a good one for rest of season would be? That's on bye. Dalton Schultz was dropped in a lot of leagues, and I like him for rest of season. So I guess I go rest of season, Dalton Schultz. This week, Mayer, but I don't love it this week. I also don't mind Cole Kmet. Vegas is nothing to write home about. So those would be my options.
Jack?
So I'm literally pulling it up right now in my two main leagues, my two main home leagues. Higby got dropped, so again, you just always have to make sure like who's been dropped. Checking the drops, like who had to make some moves like that. So like a guy like Higby I could stream in, but the real one is, and these are 12-team redraft leagues. Gerald Everett still out on a lot of waiver wires. I'd be looking pretty hard at him. Yeah, Higby's actually on two of my wires. So, he got dropped in a couple leagues. He's definitely someone I'd be looking at. Gerald Everett, again, available in both of the same leagues. And then season long, I agree with Aaron. Dalton Schultz, if he's available, I would stash him just because he's starting to get more involved in the Houston offense, and CJ Stroud's starting to get more comfortable. So I like him on a season long trajectory.
Yeah, Anthony agreed. He said, let's see. He said, good looking out. Everett is the winner in his opinion. I'm not against it. All right, so we're gonna try to wrap this thing up. He says he has Schultz, but Schultz is on bye. I do like Mayer going through the season. I think that's a good pick. I like Everett. I think that's a good pick. I think tight end is easy to stream. Obviously, Hunter Henry has started to hit a lot of drop-offs, but that doesn't mean it'll stay that way. Lots of good tight end streamers out there. So, you shouldn't have a problem finding a tight end.
Sorry, I'm distracted debating with Greg in the comments.
I know, I'm watching it happen.
I don't normally respond to the comments, but I respect him. So normally when people criticize me, I just ignore it. But I like Greg, so I felt I wanted to hear what he had to say, so I got into some banter in the chat with him.
Hey, that's all good. One of the things I love is when our chat is part of the conversation, just like we are, because there's a lot of good players in the chat. There's a lot of good people that have good takes. I mean, we've had Greg on the show, super fun, and Greg, thank you so much. Great show.
I don't think I've ever had him on mine.
Oh, dude, Greg's fun. We love having Greg.
I think I met him at the expo. I feel like I met him, but I don't remember because
Greg was at the expo. Yes.
Yeah, I think I had been drinking a lot. A lot.
Mad scientist is Aaron. Aaron is a mad scientist. But look, hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Please please subscribe to our channel. Please share our channel. We're here every week, every Friday. We're here to answer your questions, to help you win your leagues, and to give you good context for these decisions that you're making. Maybe we may disagree, but at least you're getting good context where you can make an educated decision about which player you decide to go with. Thank you so much, Aaron, Jack. Real quick before we head out, please tell everybody where they can find your work and where they can catch your stuff. Go ahead, Jack.
So, I mean, you guys all know I do a comedy football podcast and show on YouTube. So, go check me out. Sunday live stream, that's going to be the next one. So come tune in Sunday morning early. We're going to be kicking off at 8 a.m. Eastern. So come check it out. I'm going to be answering a bunch of questions from the forum. But otherwise, it's just dumb wrestling promos. Yeah. That's a good shit. And honestly, I don't do scripts. For me, it's unrated, unfiltered. It's just all me. So make sure you go check out Tyler's stuff Aaron's stuff, because he's the mad scientist. I'm the fancy Joker. If we were a dynamic duo of evil villains, he would very much be the Riddler, like with the actual plans and the brains. And I'm just the Muppet Joker coming around and fucking everything up for him. So make sure you go follow Aaron, because he crushes. He does seriously so much work. It's insane.
Yeah, I don't mind the wrestling though. Actually, I think I messaged you earlier about a wrestling issue I had. I'm trying to incorporate one of the wrestling video games into a content idea I have revolving around football. And I figured Jack would be the guy to go to for wrestling games. But
absolutely.
You can get my podcast is it's in the chat actually. Fantasy Football Mad Science Lab. That's not me in there on a burner. I didn't realize people didn't know it was me. And they said, "This is Aaron, isn't it?" Yeah, it is me. I'm not on a burner. That's just who I'm logged in on on YouTube. So you catch it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts as Fantasy Football Mad Science Lab podcast. Catch my written work on King Fantasy Sports, the league winners, tons of it on the league winners. I think I do 16 there every week. Player Profiler, Dynasty League Football, and Fantasy Pros. Also, pretty much search me at FF Mad Scientist on any social media that exists to mankind, and you will find me. Somehow there was no, I didn't go anywhere. The name wasn't taken already, so it worked out.
Yeah, for real. Well, look, and also, guys, everybody in this show is on fantasyfootballadvice.com. In fact, I just saw Aaron posted one of his podcasts on there. You can download the app, Fantasy Football Advice Network. You can get it on Android or Apple. Download it, and you can play Aaron's podcast right inside the app. And listen to him.
5 days a week.
Yes, sir. You can play his podcast. You can watch. Jack has content that hits there every week. Jack's articles are on the site, and if you want a good article that is like eccentric, out of the box, and fun to read Jack's stuff. It's well put together. Killer. Loved the Lord of the Rings article. Wasn't my favorite one out of all of them, but still, the tie-ins are great. So make sure you check out his stuff. Go to fantasyfootballadvice.com. It's free to join. Ask your questions. All these guys are on the site answering your questions, hanging out, and putting out great content to help you win your leagues. Fantasyfootballadvice.com. Join right now. And we appreciate you tuning in. Like, subscribe. Come check us out next week, same time, 9 o'clock. And thank you guys so much for joining on the show. Thank all of you awesome people for tuning in. You rock. And I hope you kill it this week in your fantasy leagues. Again, fantasyfootballadvice.com. Thanks for tuning in. Y'all have a great evening.